And now, to give you some context, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another edition of That's Canon. And I don't know if we kept that in, but if we did, I'm really sorry that that's your first introduction to our new series, our new run. But for those of you who have never heard of us, we are the crew of That's Canon with a special guest this week, Nessa. What's up, Ness? How you doing? Well, it's Ness. So we're going to be talking about Saga Volume 2, which covers issues 7 to 12. Brian K. Vaughan, Fiona Staples on the arts, on the ones and twos. I call that her pencils, the ones and twos, like a DJ. No? Bad joke? All right, no one's
I was going to be like, I wish I had like the sound to do the...
It's just because you guys get it, though, right?
It's coming out behind you to like pull you off the stage.
But you get it, right? Like a number 2 pencil?
No, I got it, Brian.
Twos?
You having to explain
no,
it is not...
explain
now you're like the dad that like people will walk away from. You went from cringe to the walk away.
God damn it. Okay, well, with all that said, we are really excited to be back. We haven't done one of these in a very long time. Hopefully some of you are fans who've been listening on the YouTube. We started repurposing the audio and posting those up as audiograms on YouTube, and some of you have been watching those. We've seen the views. We really appreciate it. And we know this has been a long break even for those issues from when we were doing them on YouTube, but we're back. And one of the fun things about this is if you're listening to the audio only, you get to watch these now because we're going to be posting these episodes on YouTube. So it's kind of a fun way to add to it. And, we'll do our best, though, to not make it a visual podcast because, the fun of the old one was us talking about the stuff. But to the advantage of anyone who is watching this, we will from time to time include the comic and images from the comic that we're discussing. For example, for this one, we're talking about Saga, and we're going to be doing issues 7 through 12, which is volume 2. And we have right now, if you're watching this, the art from the beginning of issue 7 on the screen with us.
I thought you were going to be like this and go on
no.
big old balls.
I was
like, that would have been hilarious.
I wasn't going to go straight there. But like I mentioned, the author, Brian K. Vaughan, who, if you've listened to this show also, we've done a few of his titles. The art by Fiona Staples, letters designed by Phonographics, which is spelled F-O-N-O, graphics with an F in it, and coordinated by Eric Stevenson. This is an Image Comics release, incorporated. Image Comics, who has done some amazing things. And if you were a fan back in the day when Saga came out, you know that they've gone on to do some great stuff that has led to some television stuff. You may have seen what was the other one? Well, Jupiter's Circle unfortunately did not work out the way we had hoped on Netflix. That was a horrible mistake. But Why the Last Man got a good run. It was actually very solid. Unfortunately, it got canceled, but I thought it was pretty good. And Invincible is now an amazing show on Prime. It's on Prime, right? Invincible?
Yeah, Prime. The question, they would have to do that if they were to make this. Do you think they would be able to do live action? I mean, mind you, they do Mandalorian.
This is something that Nessa and I spoke about this recently. This is one of those things that I don't think you can translate to the big screen. That's my opinion. I think it would be very, very difficult. Ness, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, we were talking about that. Just especially the characters. I feel like they're so complex. It would be hard to portray them on screen, like properly. Like, like Prince Robot and
right. Prince Robot the Fourth, the Blue Bloods.
But are you guys saying like not like you're saying it could be TV or just not on the screen, period?
Well, Ness, you had said you think a TV series could potentially.
I was saying I would watch it because it's Saga, but I personally I feel like it would not be made well.
Yeah.
I feel like the book is there's too much going on that I think the show would just be a mess.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, if anything, maybe animated.
Yes.
Style.
Yeah,
you could do it like Invincible. If you did like Invincible and translate the art, sure. I don't see why you couldn't do that. I think one of the hardest parts for trying to translate it is the fact that if you did live action, would you want to watch a live action movie with a narrator throughout the whole film? That's one of the aspects of this comic because our main character, Hazel, or one of our main characters, narrates most of this throughout the whole film. And I know some people like narration, but not every. And I'm like, if it was a little bit of narration, I would say okay. But like page to page is her telling stories.
Yeah, I don't think they would do that in the show though. In a live action.
That's the thing. And which is to the point you were making, Ness. If you're gonna have characters this complex, one of the reasons it works in the comic is because Hazel does a lot of the legwork for us in her narration throughout the comic.
Yeah, because we're seeing it through her eyes.
Right.
Well, yeah, through her experience.
Through her experience, and at this point in time, she's reminiscing on stories people must have told her.
Right.
To a certain degree,
which is the other thing. It's through her filter and memories of the stories.
Yeah. So
that's the other part that's important.
So you don't know, like, there could be over or under exaggerations at any point, which I wonder how that would be in the later on issues, but
yeah. But that makes me think of, I think I've mentioned this in the past on GeekCypha, but there was a run of the Inhumans where one of the characters can bring people back to life. He can bring anything. He can create anything from having read it. He has like a book. I don't remember the character's name, but at one point, a girl loses her mom and decides to write the book of her mom's life to ask him, Reader, I think his name was Reader, to bring the mom back because he can bring. And Reader's just like, this isn't a good idea, but I'll try. And he reads it and brings her back. And the whole point of it is that because this was a child asking adults for stories about her mother, the people told the stories in a way that they filtered specifically so that the child wouldn't hear all the details. And what Reader read was a filtered version of the character. So when she comes back, she's a complete mess. And in true comic book fashion, she's a character with a superpower. And because no one knew how her power felt inside her, they could only describe what her power looked like to them from their perspective. The version of the power she came back with was completely fucked up. And and the first person whose power, because her power was the ability to either like steal or mimic someone's power, the first person she steals from, of course, Black Bolt.
Oh my God.
Power is that he can destroy a planet with a whisper. So when she steals his power, Black Bolt realizes it immediately, runs and jumps and covers her mouth because he realizes someone who's never had to control his power doesn't know what they're doing. And that's how the issue ends. And it's fantastic, but it's the idea that that person would not be able, like, you can't rely on the recreations through filters of filters. So if Marco is telling his daughter, which in issue 7, which is the first issue, and we're already doing the discussion and we're going to jump into the elevator pitch in a second, but we might as well do this part right now. This story that Marco is telling at the beginning, where he's talking about, and it's not even Marco. Marco told Hazel, and Marco's the father, Alana's the mother, for those of you who may not remember, or if you're listening to this for the first time, I apologize I didn't introduce those characters, but Marco's the father, and in issue 7, you've already seen them, and this is like a major flashback, and 7 to 12 is a lot of good flashbacks. But 7 is the one where it starts off with a flashback of Marco as a child. But this is Marco's memory as he told it to his daughter being retold to us. And that's what we're reading here, which when you look at it through that, you're like, oh, interesting. Like, you know, when the dad mentions the dog Rumfur earlier on, because you heard that you read about Rumfur like a couple issues back for the first time. And then he's talking to his dog Rumfur, and you're like, oh, Marco had a dog named Rumfur, and he's told his daughter about the dog, and he's described the dog to her as best as he could, and this is how she's describing it to us. So it just makes for an interesting take when you think of that factor.
But I feel like I've seen things that have done like narration in the movies where it works, but I don't know, I've also seen it in shows where it's at the beginning and at the end.
Right.
To kind of open up the episode, end it off with the narration.
Yeah. Bookends. Like they started off as in, you know, this is the story, and then the actors start to just take over the narration of the characters, and then it ends. Yeah, I mean,
there's also doing the narration at just all the breaks. Okay. Right? Like where that's how like some I forget which, there was a show, I know there was at least a few cartoon shows back when I was a kid that did this. It'd be like at the beginning you'd have someone, whichever the character was like the main story or whatever, he'd say something at the beginning, then like right when they're going to commercial break would say something, or maybe say something right coming back from commercial break. And then like, you know, doing that.
And then we have the possibly the most famous version of narration that I can think of, the Wonder Years.
Of course.
Where you had the character literally talking throughout the entire story. Kevin Arnold, is that his name? I think.
Well, it's like How I Met Your Mother. They could do like How I Met Your Mother styles.
True. Yeah. Well, you know what? I wonder for this generation, How I Met Your Mother is probably the most famous version of a narration.
Yeah. I don't love that style of narrating though.
Right. And it's very specific. You have to really be open to it, because the Wonder Years, you know, I think Daniel Stern, funny enough, for those of you who don't know, the narrator of the Wonder Years was one of the thieves from Home Alone, the tall dude.
Okay.
Yeah. And, you know, Fred Savage obviously played Kevin. And so we saw that whole story. But like Daniel Stern did a really good job as a narrator of that. Like, I thought he did a really solid job, because when you watch the Wonder Years, you really get the sense of like, I'm an old guy telling a story. Don Cheadle is now the voice of the older version on this Wonder Years, which is pretty cool. And then Bob Saget, rest in peace, was the narrator for How I Met Your Mother. And now Kim, what's the actress?
For How I Met Your Mother? I mean, How I Met Your Father?
Yeah, How I Met Your Father. The actress from Kim Cattrall. Kim Cattrall is a narrator now for that one. So yeah, I mean, it's been done. Mostly rom-coms or like coming of age stories. Well, I don't know. Like, I'm just saying, like, for the ones that I've seen that have been popular and successful, I'm not trying to say it's never been done any other way, but I don't know in like pop culture many examples of purely narrated films. And again, I haven't seen every film. I watch a lot of TV. I don't watch a lot of films.
Oh, have you seen?
Jump in because
I was gonna say, have you seen? It's more recent, but have you seen Dune?
Oh yeah, I love Dune. I like Dune.
Okay, so the recent Dune, that one, there is segments where he's narrating throughout the movie.
Oh, true. I forgot about that.
I can see it working that way.
Oh,
yeah. You know, they're showing things happening as he's narrating.
Very interesting.
And that's kind of how they do it in the book.
Yeah. I would almost, man, you know what's funny though? The fact that you made that comparison will probably almost mean they would never want to do it that way because they wouldn't want this to be compared to Dune.
Yeah.
Because if I'm going to do a space opera about star-crossed lovers, and hey, you know what? I'm going to go into my elevator pitch. Go into my elevator pitch.
All right, go for it.
All right, kids. All right. So, as you guys know, if you don't know, we do the elevator pitch usually at the top of the show. This time we're doing it about 15 minutes in, but we act as if we are someone trying to pitch this project to our bosses. In this case, I'm getting on the elevator. My bosses are Dave and Ness. You guys are the executives, and I'm coming to you with the idea for the sequel. All right. Hey, guys. Hey, morning. I got you some coffees. Here you go. Decaf, right, Dave? Because you said you were trying to cut back.
Sure.
Shit. Ness, I got you a double frappuccino with cinnamon twist.
Ooh, right? Sounds really sugary, but I'll do it.
I thought.
Thank you for the decaf, Brian.
This is starting off really bad. Okay, so you know how we did the first really great, saga. We did the first one, and we focused heavy on our wonderful stars, insert names of celebrities playing these characters, and they did a really great job. I know it didn't necessarily make as much as we had hoped because of the advertising budget, but I think I have an idea. So we have the blueprint, we have volume 2. And I know the story starts off with, a flashback, and a lot of 7 through 12 is kind of flashbacky stuff. We're getting a lot of story about Marco. We're getting a lot of story. We meet Gwendolyn. We start getting all the pieces being put together. We have our buddy, the Will, we got Lion Cat. But you know what? What if we throw it back? We put it all together and we start with the heartwarming, the grandparents. Let's focus on grandmama and grandpapa. Let's give people someone to root for. Let's give people someone to love. We got the hard as nails grandma and the loving seamstress grandfather. And then we start to understand how Marco as a person is built and sewn. Get it? Sewn? Huh? Sewn together in these moments. And I just think that, there's no failing here because we're going to have some weird stuff. We are the people who have giant balls on a three-eyed Cyclops looking thing that's sitting on an egg. So I don't know if technically the giant was a parasite. You know what? It doesn't matter. We don't have to overthink it because the movie will speak for itself. Giant testicles hanging in the air over our miniature characters is not the focus here, but it will be a scene because we want people to talk about it. We probably won't put a bunch of schmegma on the... Anyways, I'm focusing on... Dave, Ness, please don't think about me focusing on the testicles too much. Don't look into it. Don't overthink it. But I think we could make this. We could show a loving family in space. We could show... And, we both know, and spoiler alerts, Grandpa doesn't make it. And I think, George Takei? I'm thinking George Takei for Grandpa. I'm just throwing that out there. Seamstress George Takei. I think he could do, and then, as he's about to end it all, he goes, "Oh my." And there you go. Elevator pitch. 3 minutes. How did I do, bosses?
We've been stuck on the elevator for quite some time. People are trying to go upstairs, Brian.
Yeah, I had a meeting. I shouldn't have held the door with my foot while I was doing this whole pitch.
Oh man, pretty good.
Yeah, okay.
Do you want to take a stab? Yes.
Sure. Yes. I mean, are we doing an elevator pitch for
just volume? You know what? If you want to. If you want to do a full elevator pitch, because you didn't get to do one when we did volume 1. By the way, if you guys are watching this or listening to this, we've done volume 1. It's in the description below. But yeah, we did our elevator pitch for the whole thing for when we did volume 1. But feel free to do a whole pitch for Saga as its own.
Okay.
Oh, you also do not have to be as insanely animated. I overdo it every time. Usually they rein me in, but because of the first one, I feel like Dave was being nice because usually Dave would be like, "Okay, and then
going after you is I feel the pressure."
No. Remember, if you want to do it the way I do, I get to play a character, and I'll just be really weird with it. So.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Yeah. All right, ladies and gentlemen, for my elevator pitch, how do I start this off? All right, so I guess I would say Saga I'll start it off with the whole comic as a whole.
Yeah, yeah.
So if you're looking for a space romance, Star Wars meets Game of Thrones, meets Romeo and Juliet.
Oh yeah.
Survival, about love.
All right. Nicholas, take these notes. Take these notes.
About being biracial.
Yeah.
Growing up with, seeing both sides and learning about, or going through self-discovery down that road.
Did you realize the character was biracial? Oh yeah, because they're two aliens.
Okay, good. Yeah, so it's very relatable.
Yeah.
And yeah, if you're just looking for a good time with some really cool characters, some cool stories, then
we have guns. I really want guns. Nicholas, show her the picture of the guns I had drawn up. Okay, so here's a picture of a gun. It's
every kind of weapon you can think of. There's guns, there's power, there's magic.
And our Ray's gonna love us.
Star Wars meets magic, all right.
There's spells. It's everything you could think of crammed into one, and it's honestly, it's beautiful. It's incredible.
Okay, so quick question. I saw a mock-up that some of these wreaths? What are they called? Okay, I saw these. Some of them have horns. Could we do away with the horns? You know how people feel about horns these days, devil worship, the pentagram. Can we change the horns? Can we do some? Can I have less horns, smaller horns? Maybe instead of the horns, they have like, I don't know, elves. Everyone loves elves. Can they look like elves more?
That's not as like badass,
Yeah, this is not fairy time.
They look cute if they had.
Yeah. I want them to look cute. I want to sell action figures and dolls.
No one's liked you ever since you got that promotion from that last elevator pitch, Brian. Your email.
I worked damn hard.
We've changed.
I have changed. Nicholas, get me another coffee. Okay, listen. It's not because it's Nicholas. He's the one. He's the president.
You hired him.
I had to. And then he's related to like one of the biggest shareholders. So I gotta act this way. Oh, Nicholas, you're back. Yes. Yeah.
You gotta educate him.
Oh yeah, that's a good point. Okay, well, all right. I like that elevator pitch though. You had me when you started using
bullet points, but did I?
No, but it's good because when you started saying like Star Wars and Game of Thrones and magic, so I'm picturing a little Harry Potter, but maybe not Harry Potter. I don't know. Wizards. Okay, yeah, Lord of the Rings. And then you said Romeo and Juliet, and I was just like, all right. And then I started picturing like magical guns and people with guns, and then I started thinking of all the money we can make because we're in America and guns sell. Sadly,
we're in America.
This is turning into a social commentary moment, but this is America. I mean, in the scenario, it's America. We're actually in Canada, if you guys are wondering. But
yeah, in the scenario, I always feel like it's always perceived that the big decisions like this are always done by Americans. Just because I always feel like all big companies are perceived like someone in America did this, but like
the big movie studios. Yeah, you're not wrong. You're not lying. No one watching this thinks all the biggest films are secretly being run by 3 nerds in Canada. Let's do it. No,
imagine though.
That would be cool. That would be cool.
That should be a movie. Who really runs Hollywood, and it's like something completely on the side.
Funny side notes, super quick. There's a sketch where you find out. I think it was on Funny or Die, where you find out Hollywood's run by Black women.
Whoa!
That sketch is really good, and it's really. I'll try and find it now. If I can find it, I'll put it in the description of this. But yeah, the sketch, like you see, I think the star of the sketch is, what's her name? Black Canary. Journey Smollett.
Yes.
Yeah.
Jesse Smollett, because that's his sister. But
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I think the joke is like she doesn't realize they're trying to recruit her, and she doesn't realize that, and they bring her in somewhere, and they show her like, oh, Hollywood's is run by Black women, and it's like all these like famous Black actresses are all just standing there being like, yeah, how do you think it all?
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's really funny. I'll try and find it. All right, cool. Dave, your turn.
All right,
Ness and I are now execs.
I would first of all be like clapping for Ness. My character is going to be actually more like your sidekick, pushing you aside from that elevator of that emo Brian. Yeah, from the original one. I was like, pushing down, like, you're not selling it enough. You're not selling it well, Brian. So what we're going to do is this.
Okay, so I'm switching places. I'm now the Dave.
Yeah, okay. Exactly. Now you're the Dave. So
I got a decaf, right?
Yeah. Forget Brian. Forget what Brian does. I'm slapping your coffee out of your hand. I'm giving you your actual coffee for the day that you prefer to have. So we're not doing the emo thing anymore. Screw that. We're going to go high into gear. So what's in these days? Family trauma. So what we're going to do is a typical family dynamic is, hey, you bring your girlfriend home for the first time and she's pregnant and she's like, Juliet, while you're like Romeo's family. We all know that song and dance. So we're going to have a big confrontation on both sides. How are we going to do this on one ship? Well, we're going to make, since the mom threw away the ghost babysitter from last time, Marco and his mom are going to go into a random planet. They're gonna hash out their problems because he's all fucked up because of the war. She doesn't appreciate it, and she's all just like being like a worry mom bitch about it. Meanwhile, they're fighting a huge giant monster, but to make it more interesting, we're gonna make it like a real big giant with 3 eyes. And you know what? We're gonna put in like these balls that are like the size of like buses. Double-decker bus balls. But because balls are in these days. People like basketball, like football, like soccer, and everyone likes a good time in the bedroom. So and it's gonna be real diverse by making the balls really big, but the penis really small, so it looks like a tripod, but in reality it's just huge balls. And if that's not good enough to make people kind of squirm or wondering what the hell's going on, the planet that they're on is a baby. And the baby wants to eat them. So that's what they gotta do. And it's also gonna be kind of like 24 hours, but 24 minutes trying to find this babysitter. Meanwhile, since the Alana just gave birth, we're gonna make them have like just like a cup of tea in comparison to them, and just like kind of like slowly knock each other out while they're trying to hash out their problems. And then when the dad kind of steps out of line, he's just gonna drop down that he's dying. That'll shut her up for a minute because she likes to talk a lot from the first one, which we're gonna try and correct that in this one. And then
what'd you
keep the will relevant, we're gonna like make him meet Gwendolyn. She's gonna be super hot. You're gonna kind of wonder why Marco would give up on that, but that'll be part of the fun.
Okay, so
then
what you're giving me is
we're gonna do a little splash of
you're giving me the
robot
bro
at
pitch,
the end,
right? You're giving me the bro pitch.
Oh, I'm giving you that's how my discuss. Oh, I've come in with like a wife beater with mustard stains. That's
I was gonna say.
I've been doing this all night. Like Brian had a good night's sleep.
You're giving me the bro pitch of like how to get dudes into the theater. Like the woman talks too much, mom's a bitch, tripod testicles are in, Gwendolyn's hot.
That's how we get the ladies. It's because it's in. Yeah. I researched the porn stats. It's not about the big penises no more. It's about the balls.
Oh my
Make them
God.
big balls. Excessively big.
This is such a scary thing if this ever sold. Save us all.
Honestly, I can see it selling.
All right. Well, I guess Dave wins the pitch. Good God. I didn't think mustard stained large testicles was the way to go, but lesson learned. Understood.
People love sex.
Yeah, true. If you watch the new Velma, which by the way has recently dropped by the time we're doing this, the first episode makes a heavy reference to the fact that like sex sells, that's what people want. And even like within the first episode, there's like heavy like teenage booties in the shower. It's like, what the fuck is going on?
I was not expecting that. I know we're not going to talk about the show, but
it
was such
we'll save that for Geektastic. If you want, feel free to jump on this week because I think that's when I'm finally going to talk about it. But
so surprising. But
it's a show. It's a show. But yes, you know what? I guess sex does sell. It's 2023. Who thought? I guess the wheel hasn't changed. The wheel has not changed. The wheel is still exact. The wheel will never change.
But I've never seen I haven't watched it yet. But like Velma was always that one that was like the nerdy, it's not niche, the fetish of the show. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Of the group, she's always been that person that was like, and it's only. Like a lot of people did cosplays of her, and there's always that like she's shy. So I mean, she's like completely
exactly.
Extreme,
that's the thing.
She was more sexualized than
100%. And it's just because she wears a sweater up to her neck. That's it.
That's the only difference between them.
What's the difference between her and Daphne? There's no. Why is Daphne?
Daphne is considered to be like kind of like a dumb blonde,
But Daphne helps solve the crimes just as much as they all do. Like Daphne's never been like a bad character. I've never felt that Daphne was a bad or useless character.
It's because Daphne was always assumed to have something with Freddy. So Velma was like the one who was available, but no one wanted. She was like the no one wanted her originally.
Okay, wait,
type.
Hold on, we got to save this for Geektastic because this is gonna because remember these episodes don't necessarily come out the week right after we do them. So true. Who knows when this dropped and people are just like. Wasn't that show canceled? Remember when they had that whole thing? They started running with pitchforks outside Mindy's house. Like, I don't know.
Mindy's house.
I have no clue what's happened at this point. Hopefully, they didn't actually do that to Mindy. I think she's a little interesting with how she decided to move forward with this. But hey, she is who she is, and Hollywood loves her. So, yes, back to the comic. So that's the elevator pitch. And we already did our first segment review, but I guess we can start talking about the characters and the because Dave, you already touched on it quite a bit, and I actually, you jokingly did it, but I think one of the things you hit super well is how much this segment of the comic feels like it's talking about trauma.
Oh yeah,
early on. I mean, this whole thing feels like it's a lot about trauma because like I feel like this saga is Hazel's book to her therapist. Like that's her diary. Yeah, it's her diary that she handed to the therapist. It's like, you know what? Instead of doing tons of sessions, read this. And then just call me when you're done, and we'll go.
Journal.
Yeah.
But I find this this one is like, this is real Romeo and Juliet stuff.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? This is what Romeo and Juliet like should have been had it been not just like a player or what have you. It's you see the intricacies. Like,
how dare you? Shakespeare worked his ass off, you monster. I'm joking.
He obviously inspired this story.
Yeah,
for sure. But I just found it like, I found the layers that the onions, like they created onions in this is the best way. Like all the characters now, or at least all the characters that you've seen more than once, or for more than one or two issues, like they really made it so that you're connecting with them in some shape or form. You know what I mean? And I don't know about how you guys feel, but I find that they always get you in the feels every couple of minutes in these books.
Yeah, they're really good at showing, you know, like the story behind the characters and why they are the way they are, or how they got there.
And they're good at dropping bombs at the right time. Like when the dad eventually would tell Alana, like, I'm gonna die, like how it happened, you're like, she can't be angry, like she can't say anything to you anymore. Like you guys have been fighting this whole time, like indirectly, and she's been like one-upping you in the sense of like she initially restrained him and all this stuff.
Yeah.
And she's like verbally beating him, and he's just like, well, I'm gonna die soon, and like, but you're not one of us, but like you're one of us now. Like it's,
but also take into consideration in the context too, because one of the things we learn throughout the story is that for the Reeds, right? That's how that's pronounced. I feel. So, the Reed culture, to use the magic, you have to. Some spells require a sacrifice. All spells require a sacrifice of some sort. In some way or something. You need something to use to use the spell. The one spell that we saw them use last time when they were being attacked in the woods, which is the same spell that Dad's using now, requires you to give a full secret that no one has ever heard before. And once you speak it, and it's really nice how they show the difference, because when you speak it, it's blue and it has that kind of magical like element to it in the writing, which I think was a great idea.
Fairy dust.
Yeah. Yes. That element. Yeah. And one of the things I like about that is, you know, what he's saying is 100% true, because the spell works and it frees him, and you know for the spell you have to give a secret that no one else has ever heard, so you know he's not lying in that moment to gain favor, which is another thing I thought was cool.
And that and through that's called sacrifice. It's the immediate bridge that solves all the problems between him and her. Like you could tell, like in that moment for Alana and him, it's like, we're bonded now, even though you're gonna only see me for a short period of time. Like I'm letting you know you're only gonna see me for a short period of time. It's like all the bullshit's gone.
All the differences no longer matter.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Yeah. It's like one of those, it's like one of my friends recently told me, one of my friends recently had a kid, and he's like, you know, you kind of bickered before, and whenever you have a kid, like you don't worry about, you don't sweat the small stuff anymore, you know? And like, that was like them having a kid in that moment. It was like, this news is so epic that it's like all this, like not real conflict between us because it's history between our cultures, but that's nothing to do between us because we just met, doesn't matter anymore, you know?
Yeah. I think they both realized they were both just being petty.
Exactly. Yeah. Very well said.
Like it's one of those things where it's like, why are we even arguing? Why are we even mad at each other? You know, you're just like nitpicking.
Yeah, exactly. It's like it's kind of probably a more shell shock, right? In that moment, because for them it's like, I mean, you're meeting your father-in-law for the first time.
Right.
You're technically, as they put it, different species and not like equivalent, or at least raised to think that way.
Yeah.
And
like you said, they even have an argument about that thing that led to that moment where he gives his secret, was them arguing over different battles.
Yeah.
And this is and this is after the Marco and the mom leave them alone. Like they disappear through a magical gate to go after Isabel, who is the ghost nanny. And like they leave, and then those two are left alone, and she's left. Alana is left. I would assume scared, because two people just showed up that she doesn't know. They started yelling. They zapped away.
They had weapons and no magic.
Right. So from her perspective, and one of the things that Isabel had mentioned earlier or recently is she's going through like this crazy hormonal dump, because she just gave birth less than a week ago. So all those things happening in one moment in that story leads to this moment where you're now standing across from someone, and then he reveals to you he's about to die, and you've just given birth. Your partner is missing. You don't know if he's coming back. Your mother-in-law is gone, so he doesn't know if his wife's coming back because they don't know where they went.
Ooh.
And then you're
like emotional.
Even like, just saying it is emotional to think about. Like,
and just think about it. You're meeting your son's girlfriend for the first time, and the kid that just gave birth. For all you know, that's the only reason why your son is even with this person at this
right,
point.
You don't know how.
Like, you have no you. I don't know anything about you, and I don't have my son as a reference point for anything about you right now.
Yeah,
and they already, both of them have preconceived notions about each other because of where they come from. So
well, it's like it's a very,
especially grandparents, right? Because they're older, so they've lived through. Like these two, like Marco and her, are relatively young people in comparison to the grandparents, obviously, and seeing everything that's happened and living through the battles to then see that your son has now bedded or slept with, or whatever term you want to use to say, lay with the enemy. That must still be a shock to you. But I do like the fact that the grandfather is so excited for a grandbaby, because remember, one of the things that he's trying to do is, can I just see the baby? Like, he wasn't trying to get to her in a bad way. He's actually asking her, before she ties him up, he's asking to see the baby.
Yeah, because it's also because he needs to see the baby because he wants to make like the armors and stuff. Like, because the clothes that he makes are armors, right?
I think he also just wants to see the baby to see the baby.
Oh yeah, well, obviously, because like, at that point,
he genuinely cares.
Yeah, because at the same time, he's like, well, I have like a month, so I'm gonna enjoy any second of it, right?
True.
That's probably the thought.
Yeah.
And then what I found funny is that, so you have, because I found their interaction to be like, although like obviously an argument, I found it to be relatively level-headed argument, let's say. Like, you know, they're playing like, let's say a chess match of wits to a certain degree with how they were talking to each other.
Yeah.
But then you have the complete contrast, which is, and what I found funny is that, like, at this point in time, Alana is seen more as the chaotic person, let's say.
Yeah.
And then she gets matched with the dad, who, like, right away I got a feeling of like, well, he seems like a bit more cool, calm, and collective. And then you see a different side of her. Meanwhile,
he's definitely the more balanced one out of the parents.
And then meanwhile, when you go to the when you cut to the other two, when they're reconciling themselves, the mother is obviously a warrior and very brash. And this is the first time you see Marco more like aggressive, minus the time you see him freak out and killing everyone because he thinks
when he hits with the lightning,
gets shot or whatever. But like, when like that was in like the issue right before this, when they were escaping, you see like two, lack of a better term, two rams clashing heads, which, you know, they kind of look like rams as well. But
are you talking about when the mom says something about Alana and he like strikes lightning right in front of her?
Yeah, like you see like this is but you also see him taking like way more charge in this one. He's drastically different than because up until this point he was more, I don't want to say following Alana, but you could tell that she was a bit more like, we got to get out of here.
Yeah.
You know, whereas this is him taking charge, him like setting down the law and stuff. So it's interesting that you see in the moment of this, on top of like having this interesting family dynamic, you're seeing completely different sides of the two main characters that you saw up to this point.
Yeah, you're seeing like the yin to the yang.
Exactly.
Yeah, sorry, Ness, you were about to say.
No, I was just gonna say, I think for him, it's, you know, his parents just showed up and now he feels responsible for whatever happens next. So I think that's part of the reason he took control, because he's like, okay, I gotta deal with this now that like, my parents are here, you know, because it obviously, I don't know, he's probably worried himself about what can happen next.
Well, and you're right, like, take into consideration to get if you haven't read volume 1 through 6, it's kind of just a crazy escape story that, you know, they kind of meet a whole bunch of crazy characters. You meet Isabel, who's the ghost nanny. She makes a deal with them, gets them off the planet. But to even get to the rocket, which is like the planet for some reason, and you gotta love fantasy stories, they just have rockets that made of trees, just that you can just go into space with. But to get into the rocket, he had to once again sacrifice something, and he sacrificed like 1,000-year-old sword that's been in his family since the beginning. And breaking that sword is the reason that his parents were able to find him, because breaking the sword triggers, I guess, some sort of magical alarm in the family's lineage. So the parents start looking for him, and they think he's in danger. And that, to me, it's also interesting to think, like, first of all, one of the main characterizations for Marco is that he's actively trying to be a pacifist now, which almost a pacifist to the point where it drives me bananas. Like, I get that they did that on purpose, because when he finally does let loose at some point, it really is to show you what he was willing to do, because he's been trying his best to stay a pacifist. But at the same time, there was times where I was just I was Team Alana in the moment of like, mother, grab the sword and start chopping heads. We don't have time to just be standing here when I have a baby in my arms and your ass is just.
I feel like for him too, he's thinking about his daughter, right? Now that he has a daughter, I think he wants to lead by example. So he's trying not to lead with violence and killing
people.
But sometimes I think you need that. Sometimes I think Alana's a good balance, because it's like sometimes you do need to fight people and kill
Alana's, I won't fuck with Alana because she put a gun to her own baby's head and said, yo, I gotta kill this baby and let it go with you. And I was just like, as much as some people don't like that scene, I love that scene because it's like that Killmonger scene in Black Panther. It's just like, nah, man, kill me. I'd rather be dead than a slave. Like, you're not getting me. And I love that about Alana. Like, you realize how far she's willing to go. And then you also see how far Marco's willing to go.
But she also seems to, I don't know how, but like she seems to understand, because I don't feel like anyone told her, but like she seems to understand, like, you're gonna kill me, you're gonna kill him, but like if you take this baby, I don't want that. And this baby is not gonna like live with whatever manipulation you're gonna do.
Manipulation. They're gonna test the out of that baby because it's a hybrid that, remember, Prince Robot the Fourth tells us earlier in the comic book that anytime, or I don't know if it's him or one of the scientists, but someone says at some point, oh, we've heard about them having like forced breeding camps, but the offspring always die within like a month. And this is the first time, like, obviously this is still less than a month, but we get the sense through the fact that she's telling the story, we know she doesn't die within the first month.
Yeah.
So it's interesting.
Yeah, but it's just such a well-written book because, like, and another thing, I know we touched upon, like, the first time we were talking about how they just used the visuals right, and I just want to mention something that I didn't pick up until Janessa mentioned it earlier, was like how the writing was, it would look like fairy dust. It looked like it was like I liked your metaphor there, because every time they add a new aspect to this, I just love it. It's like I just find it's a book. I don't think anyone could really find a flaw, at least not in the issues that I read. The story is solid, the characters are solid, and the presentation is just so smooth. It's like, it's borderline. This is like a comic book that if you wanted someone to get into comic books, I would suggest that they read this.
That's literally how it happened for me. Because to be honest, I don't really read comics at all. So this was my introduction to comics, and once I picked it up, I did not put it down, and I just kept going with it. And I'm not a person that reads them. So for me, this was like the perfect introduction, and I always recommend it, even though I don't read other comics.
Yeah.
I always tell people to start with it.
You know what? And it's funny because this comic is both a gift and a curse, because it is so good that it sets the bar so high.
Oh, yeah.
Which I think is the curse part, because it makes everything else hard to do. And I think it a curse in the sense that if you read other Brian K. Vaughan titles, you expect this level of writing, and not to say that he's not very good, that he's not great. He's a fantastic writer, but Saga is his best written piece.
Oh, 100%.
So everything else will always feel less than in comparison. So the fact that you're starting with his best work ever doesn't give you much room to grow with him.
I do have to say, like, I have started a few other comics after reading Saga, and I just couldn't get into it as much, or I like them, but I just ended up stopping, or
There's one that I think. There's one that we've done here on the show, by Jeff Lemire, that I think I'll suggest to you. What's it called? With the little kid?
Are you saying Empress?
No, Empress is fantastic. Like, Empress is one of my favorite comics ever. Mark Millar. If you guys are listening to this, you've heard how much I love Empress.
It's 8 issues, and it's remarkable.
It's fucking fantastic. But Empress is different to me because it's that's just like a fun, crazy action story. I was talking about Descender.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like, Descender to me is a equally on par to, it's not on par with Saga, but it is one of the better comics out there, or I should say graphic novels, because like these are more graphic novels than just comics. Like, no offense to like Alex Ross and all those guys who do like Kingdom Come and all that stuff, and I know those are considered graphic novels, but you can tell there's like a distinct difference between someone who's doing something like Saga, where it's like, I would have written this as a book, but I was able to write it as a graphic novel where there's beautiful imagery and the words match. And there's a difference between, like, Kingdom Come doesn't work as a book. For Kingdom Come, the DC Elsewhere, set in the future where the superheroes' kids in DC have all grown up. Like, that to me doesn't translate as a book as well. So, there's this, like, graphic novel applies to both, but Saga feels like a graphic novel, whereas Kingdom Come feels like a really cool graphic.
Yeah, and maybe that's why I was able to get into it so easily, because there's so much to ingest. It's not just like an action,
right?
It's not just like the same thing over and over again, or not much. I don't know. I started Paper Girls, and it was good, but it didn't have as much for me anyway. It didn't.
You know what it is? It's that it's very real.
Yes.
Paper Girls is like fictional, right? Like you have to accept that. Like,
I mean, there's a lot of suspension of disbelief with this too.
Yeah, but what I mean more is like, it's more real and things are relatable. Like it's relatable that you're meeting your parents, your girlfriend and your parents is hard for the first time.
Well, like Ness said in
PTSD,
yeah. But like Ness said in her pitch, like biracial story, like
exactly,
even just that as a like
because for me, I can relate to that experience.
And it's so interesting that you said that, because I've never thought of Hazel as biracial, even though the whole story is about Hazel being biracial. Like, the story is that I am a product of two warring nations.
Yeah, because it's not just about them being enemies. They're completely different, like races.
Because to me they're just all aliens. So I'm like, yeah, sure, aliens have baby and it's an alien baby. I'm not thinking like a mixed or like that's so interesting that you said it.
Yeah, that's why for her, like the tell that she's biracial obviously is that she has the horns and the wings.
Right.
Yeah. But to your point, that's exactly like that. It's that type of stuff that make it way more relatable for a lot. Like, and you don't necessarily need to be put in that position. That's like it's a very apparent thing in our day to day now. Like, you know, it's a very common grounds for people to be doing this. So it does create easily attraction also, and like the way how he writes about the conflicts.
Yeah,
it's you know at the end of they're talking about the book the whole time, and they're saying that the book. It's like a very clear, we're just discussing about the war problems and this and that. That's what Brian K. Vaughan is doing with this book about so many topics.
Yeah.
Including biracialism, including you know, I say PTSD because like it's very apparent within a lot of characters between the robot. Even I feel Marco's going to be going through his own thing.
Marco 100% has PTSD.
You know, so
all of them, honestly. Even
Atlanta. Because you
find out Gwendolyn, like they all have.
Yeah. Oh, the Will. Can I talk about the Will? Can I talk about my favorite character for a second?
Go for it.
He's a great character.
I feel like you want to cry. Like we need to talk about.
No, because he was my favorite character until this reread. Funny enough.
Really?
Yeah, he was the background on my phone for the longest time. Like I liked the Will and Lion Cat that much that I made a blackout version with a white outline of just the Will and Lion Cat, and I made that the background on my phone, and I had that for the longest time as a background on my phone, and then reread it this time, and obviously I've read past volume 2, so when I reread this knowing the future, I was like, you're just an ass. Like I there's certain aspects of the character, like, you know, I think it's great that he wants to save Slave Girl and on all that stuff, but what it felt like rereading it was like, oh, you're like a liberal who's like, I'll save this one, I will stand for this one,
make himself feel better.
Yeah, this one progressive subject is the thing I'm like dedicating myself to, and I will not stop until this one thing is fixed. Hey, by the way, this whole planet probably has millions of underage girls being kept locked up, not just the one you happen to bump into. But no, cool. Keep trying to save this one girl and make everything about her so that you can feel better for yourself and be like, I'm a good liberal. I saved one. And then just go. But my thing is, he didn't immediately goes back to work being a bounty hunter or freelancer. It's not like
at the end of the day, he's an asshole who wants money.
Exactly. And that's
always been like that.
I know, but the first time I read it, I didn't think of him that way. The first time I read it, I was like, all right,
cool.
So many circumstances. That is Han Solo, dude. Like, there's many examples of like we do of a character. I think you're being a little harsh on the Will. I'm gonna say it out loud.
I have to be harsh.
He has to put food on the table. He now has a cat and a baby and a slave girl to take care of.
Exactly.
And this Gwendolyn girl until she leaves him alone.
Yeah, but he didn't have to have all that. You're
saying that he should have just not done something nice, left the slave girl, and continue being a bounty hunter?
I think he's trying to say that his intentions are not actually.
Yeah, his intention. Yes.
It's more just like a.
He didn't save her to save her. He saved her to make himself feel better.
Yeah.
Which is one of the major issues. Yes, which is one of the major issues that people have with like liberals, quote unquote, is that like you're doing this not because you actually want to help the children in cages. You're doing it because you feel guilty you haven't done enough to save the children in cages. And when you save one kid in a cage, that feeling you got of like, I saved one, I'm good, and then you sit back and you stop and say someone else will save the next one. No,
I feel like I've seen this a lot too in like movies and TV shows where the asshole person does this one good thing and thinks like it erases all the
get out of here. So that's why, like, see, the difference is with Han Solo is actually trying to redeem himself from most of the asshole things he's done throughout all of Star Wars.
But
the Will doesn't feel like he's trying to redeem himself in this moment. He's just,
I think at the end of the day, he's just a bad guy.
Yeah,
he's a great character.
Great character.
The the comic wouldn't be the same without him.
Great character.
I feel
agree.
though, like if he lived his life the whole way, he's not an efficient person. Because imagine if every time he crossed paths with somebody that he felt bad for, he decided to drop everything and save them.
Dude, you're talking about the fucking Littlest Hobo of Space Hunters. For anyone who doesn't know Littlest Hobo, old Canadian show about a dog that walks town to town helping save lives. Yeah, it's an old Canadian show, like late 80s, like mid 80s. But anyways,
I kind of get what you're saying, because I think for the Will, it's like you might as well just keep him being an asshole.
Yeah.
What's the point of like
why
trying
did we
to
have
be
a whole
good for a minute?
Why did I have a whole story about him and him? Even the worst part is not even just saving Slave Girl, fantasizing about saving Slave Girl by dreaming about being him and the Stalk going back to the planet, and like, sir, this has now become an all-consuming idea of a little family. You're gonna get the out of here.
In a sense, I think it is part of his character development, because he's going through that who am I? What am I doing with myself?
He's having a midlife crisis.
Yeah, so I think for him it was like a,
And then his like hideous girlfriend dies.
The Stalk
or his ex. Well, because the Stalk is alluded as his girlfriend. Well, at least partner of in some shape or form at one point in time. Which has to be all the extra hands. I don't see why.
Every time I see her, I really do get. I am really creeped out by her. Like
I kill spiders faster when I see her. Like I'll read in the spiders in the room. I kill that spider like immediately. I'm not allowed.
Yeah, I don't like this evolution of spiders turning into like tall, big boobed women with like a huge Victorian gowns covering their insanely arachnid bodies underneath. So
which
creepy.
they just hold a bunch of weapons to kill you with, which doesn't help the.
Yeah, sorry, Ness. You were gonna say.
No, I was gonna ask, is there a phobia for like tentacles and like.
Yeah.
Like a lot of, because I really think I have some type of phobia. Like, anything, literally anything, any animal, insect, whatever, anything that has more than like 4 legs,
I'm phobia.
I like that. Anything with more than 4 legs, I don't like.
Seriously,
that's so
anything,
funny.
Literally anything with more than 4 legs, it freaks me out. Like that is like my worst nightmare. That's the way to get me to talk. Like
chapodophobia.
Okay, yeah,
that's what I think it's called.
Can you say it again?
It's CHAPODI then phobia. So chapodophobia.
Yeah, chapodophobia sounds right.
Something like that.
By the way, we're not doctors, so if you're listening,
this is the first thing I googled. It's the first thing I read. I can easily be wrong.
We should name this podcast "That's Canon." Comic book talk, not doctors. Like,
not a doctor.
Not a doctor. All right. You know what? Before we go into our final thoughts, I think it'd be good. I know we were supposed to do judgment call, but I think we've talked about this so much that we should probably go into cast the movie, because that will probably be easier as a segment to do than if we do judgment call, because judgment call will get crazy.
Oh, I was thinking of trypophobia, but that's with holes.
Oh no, I hate that one too. Ugh. But you know what? You should put the people who fear the multiple arms and the people who fear the multiple holes and stick the arms in the holes and get rid of everything.
Well, because then you get rid of one of the problems. So that's technically saving one of the phobias, because then the hole is still.
But then they're all together and they're.
Yeah, but if it's coming out of the hole, I mean, if it's going, okay, this is gonna get.
No, let's stop.
This is how that disgusting anime porn was created through these thoughts.
Let's just do the casting. Let's go to the casting. Let's go to the casting.
Oh, man.
So, because we talked about it earlier in the elevator pitch, we talked about how the first movie has already come out. So we're doing the sequel. We want to get good actors. I mean, some of these characters already appeared, but we could always recast. So let's cast. We're casting now for the Will, Gwendolyn, Prince Robot the Fourth, and Lion Cat. Lion Cat will very much be a Groot situation, obviously, because Lion Cat's only lines are lying. Mm. Those are the only things in my head how Lion Cat sounds.
You should be casted.
I would love to do. I would love that job, because it's just like blah 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 lying, or blah 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 blah. That's it. That's all he says.
So
I'll tell you who I was impersonating when I say who I think should do Lion Cat, because I was trying to impersonate that person. But anyway,
we'll leave Lion Cat for the last.
Yeah, sure.
Let's start with the Will. Who were you guys thinking for the Will?
Okay, who wants to go first? I have mine on my screen.
I can go.
All right. Who do you want to cast as the Will?
So I had 2 people in mind, but now I think I've decided on one. For Will, I see for some reason Carl Urban.
Oh, interesting.
So Carl Urban is who does he play again in The Boys?
The Butcher.
The Butcher.
The Butcher. So I don't know why, for me, the Will seems like the Butcher, like that character, where he's just, I don't give a fuck attitude. He's also, I think he's a bounty, no?
He's a bounty hunter. Yeah, freelancers
exactly.
are bounty hunters.
Maybe that's why he came to mind, but it's just he plays that character really well, and I feel like that's who I see being Will, just because it's.
He also has that scruff.
Yeah,
attitude.
that's fucking like.
Okay. Okay. Who's the second?
You're gonna laugh. The second one was Hugh Jackman.
That one I won't support as much. I was with you on the last one.
I thought about it more, and I was like, no, that doesn't make any sense.
I feel like people know who Hugh Jackman is, so I won't even look him up. Most people know Carl Urban as well, but I looked him up specifically so I could show the picture. Okay, I have,
and specifically with his accent. I like the accent he uses in The Boys. I feel like that would suit Will.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
I have an easy pitch for the Will, because I think Brian is going to be a thorough. Because I know it's one of your favorite characters, so I'd rather go.
Oh no, I went for someone that I think can play Broken well. So my character is very okay. Hit me.
I think, I don't know why, and it's because every time I've read him, I always see him visually more than like whether or not he can act. I always seen him as Jason Statham.
Okay, it's funny you say that, because I did think Statham for a second. I did think Jason Statham, because
I could see that.
I almost feel like the Will is drawn to almost
exactly
like Jason Statham.
Exactly.
Okay, you guys ready for mine?
Go for it.
Jesse Williams.
Really?
Actor Jesse Williams.
He did.
He's too pretty.
I want him to put on a little bit of weight for the muscle. and yeah, because one of the things about the Will is a broken character who I think thinks he's better than he is. And Jesse Williams, I feel, can play the type of guy who's like, I'm a good person. And he has a smile and he has a look, but you're not a good person. You're actually not that good of a person. And I feel like Jesse Williams, no offense to Jesse Williams, I actually don't know Jesse Williams, but I feel this space gets away with like pretending you're a good person when you're not.
Really, he just looks like the jock in high school, you know, like the one that gets all the girls and everyone likes him.
For Jesse Williams, but that's it.
Yeah.
But you're promoting even more, because I feel that's exactly what the Will was when he was as a kid, because that's why he doesn't know what he's doing, because he's always been
like I think the Will is the type of character who's like, he's always just gotten what he wants. And now he's gotten to a point where things aren't working out. He's gone like the way he deals with his breakup is a guy who's never been broken up with before. He acts like it's like
he always did the breaking up, and this is the first time someone broke up with him.
Jesse Williams to me looks like the good guy. The one that doesn't but the one that doesn't do bad things. The one that's like, I gotta be charming.
Exactly. And that's why I want him, because I want the guy who looks like that, but I want him to be the asshole. I want the good looking, looks like he can be nice all the time, but is secretly an asshole liberal who doesn't actually care too much about people and thinks mostly of himself. I want that. I want a good looking guy that you don't suspect, because I love Carl. You're not wrong. Carl Urban is a great casting, but Carl Urban looks like the type of guy who is an asshole. And Jason Statham definitely looks like an ass, like he could just play an asshole. But Williams is the low key, sneaky character who's like, oh, you don't look like an asshole. No, but you're also the type of person who would kill a child, but also wants to save one.
I think
that's what I want.
I think it's because you're convinced that he could be the asshole, but when he's doing the nice things to try and get Slave Girl, he can look like this pretty boy while doing it. So you're saying he can do the Two-Face quick. Yeah. That's why you're so sold on it.
This little face, this little smile is an evil man.
What about Chris Hemsworth?
Chris Hemsworth for
Thor.
Yeah. But for the Will?
Yeah.
If anything, maybe his brother.
Yeah, Liam maybe.
His brother has darker tones compared to him.
I feel like Chris is too much. Like Chris is too much of a.
Chris is the definition of a pretty boy.
Yeah.
Chris, look, I love Chris Hemsworth as an actor. I really do. But he is legit, like in my mind, like the surfer, quarterback, prom.
But that's king, what this guy is to me. I feel like
he's not had a bad day in his life. Almost like he stumbles out of bed and he's laughing.
I also don't want a blonde for the Will. No offense to the blondes out there.
Hey, he could dye his hair.
Yeah. Have you ever seen Hemsworth with dyed hair? I don't want to. Just give me Liam in that case.
Is he blonde? I guess he is blonde.
He's blonde in everything except for like one movie. It's like that apocalyptic or like.
Oh no, yeah, he is blonde in that. I was trying to think of the other one with Miles Teller and Journey Smollett. Speaking of, wait, is it Journey or Jumi? It's Journey, right? Smollett? No, it's hold on, let me look up Smollett's. The Smollett family. Oh, Jesse, you ruined your name.
Jesse ruined your name.
Journey. Okay, it is Journey. Yeah, Journey. Anyways, okay.
Let's switch up the character then.
Yeah.
If we're switching up the second, let's go for Gwendolyn. Who do you? I'll actually do a hard hard start for Gwendolyn, because I'm curious if you guys will be able to up me on this one. I mean, it's just because I saw Wednesday too recently, and I find the girl already basically did Gwendolyn on the show. But Joyce Sunday, Joyce Sunday would easily fit this role. Joy, she was the I forget the name of the. I know her powers, like she sings to you and she would influence what you did in Wednesday. She I don't know, like when I started reading the comic.
How do you spell her name? How do you spell her name?
It's just Joy, not Joyce. Joy.
Oh, Joy Sunday.
Joy Sunday.
Yeah, because I was just like, that's not who I think it is.
Joy Sunday. There you go. So her, and I think it's because, like I said, I was watching Wednesday while I was reading this, and her character in Wednesday has all the same tendencies, right? I'm jealous because a girl is stealing my thunder, or someone's stealing my thunder. My boyfriend is no longer with me. I have magic. I could influence people. Like all the
you definitely got influenced.
Yeah, but it's the thing is, like, it's the exact same thing, and by chance I find that she also has very similar
facial features.
Facial features. That's exactly it. So I was there. I'm like, even she has those piercing eyes in Wednesday, and I'm like, this is like, I don't know. I was so, it was like an easy sell in my brain.
All right, what do you got for us, Ness?
Okay,
who are you thinking?
For me, so at first I was thinking Danae Guerrero. Is that how you say her name?
Yeah.
From Black Panther and The Walking Dead. But then I thought she's too old to play the character, just because I think Gwendolyn in the book, to me, she comes off as, I mean, she's the same age as Marco, I think, right?
Approximately, yeah, because they're in school.
So they're pretty young, I think.
Yeah.
So then I was like, maybe Lupita, but then I was like, no. And then I came to Jodie Turner-Smith. She's the one I decided. She's the starring actress in Queen and Slim.
You win. You win. No, seriously, Jodie Turner-Smith looks exactly like.
She looked to me.
All you have to do is put the horns, and then she's there.
Yeah, she looks like her, and also just her acting in Queen and Slim. She's just such a badass in Queen and Slim, and that, I feel like her character in that was just, the way she acted that role was the perfect. I think.
I don't even want to say mine anymore. I don't even want to say it. Thanks, Ness. Thanks. Way to make
I don't know. That's what came to my mind.
You're supposed to think of fun fan casting, not actually cast as if you're a casting director. Because this is what
we were doing.
No, this is her. No, I'm teasing you. This is her. This is Gwendolyn. Yeah. Like if you people don't cast Jodie Turner-Smith as Gwendolyn, you're making a mistake. This is so accurate for the look and the vibe. Like the kind of like you can't fuck with me energy that she has in these pictures looks exactly like the first time.
Have you guys seen Queen and Slim? No?
I don't want to say I haven't seen it because my black card will get revoked. So I'm going to not answer the question.
Well, honestly, it's a pretty it wasn't like a big movie that was on
yeah, but it was in our community. Like every single.
Actually, a lot of people have not seen it.
Really?
I haven't seen it because I'm such a huge fan of Daniel Kaluuya, and I watch pretty much everything that he comes out with.
This is Gwendolyn right here, standing next to the kid from.
Well, that's her husband.
Mighty Ducks. Yeah, whatever. Mighty Ducks boy.
Whatever. Mighty Duck / Fringe guy.
Fringe. That. Yeah.
He's got some weight. He's got some clout.
Okay, so let's make him the Will. Just talk Joshua Jackson.
Actually, that would be kind of hilarious.
Yeah, that would be pretty funny if Joshua Jackson.
They would probably kill it, to be quite honest.
Are we going to choose like winners for each character?
No. I mean,
no. It was just by chance.
You just did one so well that I don't.
You did a mic drop on it.
Yeah.
We give the flowers on the show when it happens.
Yes. Because I was gonna say Lupita, and then you put up Jodie, and I'm like, shut the fuck up, Brian. Don't even show your Lupita picture. Don't even do it. I was gonna show y'all this picture of Lupita and be like, look how good Lupita could do about it. No, nothing. Sorry, Jodie.
I mean, she could play it too. She could play it too.
Not anymore.
I don't even want it anymore.
No, see, this is like imagine you had all of our characters, all of our actresses lined up. Mine went up first, like, oh, it's a good job.
Yeah.
And then she comes in and like, okay, cool. And then they walk out in the hall and like, yeah, we're not casting anymore. And she has to walk away. Like that's what's happening.
Everyone in the room goes, okay, so that's who we're casting. We're just seeing the rest for fun, right? Cool. Let these poor actors come in and do this job that they're not getting.
And honestly, like I was gonna say, recently, I feel like the dark-skinned black girl is often like Danae or Lupita now in all like the most popular movies. So it'd be nice to see a new face.
Fair.
Yeah,
you put me.
I mean, they're amazing though. Not to take away the credit.
No, we know.
No. Hey, there always has to be a winner, and there always has to be the ones that don't win.
Yeah,
I don't even. No negative connotation.
You hit a home run. What are we supposed to do? Can I do Robot the 4 first?
Yes.
Because I want to maybe get a chance to actually win something.
I struggled with that one.
Nicholas Holt, my Robot the 4th. You never see his face, but this boy doing that voice with his little.
I can't remember what he sounds like.
Let's see if we
I just saw him in the menu, which ironically could support.
Yes, I just saw that too.
Oh, I don't want to go on a tangent of that movie. I that movie made me angry.
Can you guys
wasting my freaking time?
Can you guys hear it?
I actually liked it. No, I can't hear it.
You can't hear it? Okay, that's fine. Then I won't play his voice.
But that's a good. He's a good.
The guy who I was gonna go with, because I always assumed that it was gonna be like one of those like potentially like, they're actually doing the movement and they're dressed up, but they'll just like put like a green mask on their head and then add the
which is fair. They'll CG in the head. That's fair.
Yeah, I don't know why. I feel like Bradley Cooper would be the best casting because of the fact that Prince is a little unstable, right? He has a tendency to really jump from happy to sad to angry to comedic, and he can also be very, very dark.
He's emotionally unbalanced.
And I find between like Rocket, the guy when he did the guy from The Hangover, and even when he did some of his other serious roles, what's the one that he starts off? He's in a mental institution and he's out. The Silver Linings Playbook or whatever. Okay. Like his range in those, and because he could easily go from one extreme to the next and keep composure and whatnot, I've always thought it would be him.
Okay.
Not a bad pick.
Who do you have, Ness? Are you gonna mic drop us again?
No, for this one I had a really hard time. Even now I don't even know if I want to say it. For some reason, the person that came to mind for this one, because I was struggling, is Chris Pine.
I see that.
That's a great idea. What are you talking about? I definitely see Chris Pine doing it.
Yeah, but I wasn't sure, but it's because of his voice. I feel like he has the right voice for that type of character.
But his body stature, ironically, if you put a TV on his head and how he's done in it, he would. I could see that very easily. Yeah, because when I was thinking of it, it's because the Prince has very specific body movement.
Yeah.
And I could see that.
Funny enough, I'll say this. Also throwing in for the will, Chris Pine.
Yeah,
another
really.
I could see that. I could. Jesse Williams and Chris Pine are both those like I was saying, those types of guys that have that smile, that are those nice guys who think they're good people.
Yeah, Chris Hemsworth is similar to him.
Yeah, but Chris Hemsworth is like, I feel like Chris Hemsworth has too much build and like is even like perceived as nicer.
Too jolly.
Chris Hemsworth can play Santa in 10 years. Like he's
100%. He's going to remake Santa Claus with muscles.
Yeah,
he's doing that horrible movie.
Actually, another person for the will could be Tom Hardy.
Yes.
Interesting.
Yes.
I feel like I could definitely see that because he's a good-looking guy, but can also.
But also like how
Tom Hardy is pretty good. Yeah, Tom Hardy.
That second photo that you have, that right there.
Tom Hardy as the will.
You just remove the scrub.
You guys have seen? Have you seen Venom?
I've seen so many of his movies. So I love him.
I feel like that character is similar to the Will's vibe, where he's,
all right,
like a nice guy, but he's like kind of an asshole at the same time.
We'll have to put a poll in this episode for people to tell us who they would want to cast for some of these roles. And then our last one is
Brian. She's got like almost everyone.
Yeah, I know. That's what sucks because
we're supposed to be thinking
as we're talking.
I know. I was like, oh man, Lupita. Unlike and she's like, no, I think Jodie and Tom Hardy. And we're like, fuck.
Listen, I watch a lot of movies. I know a lot of. I have a lot of actors in my.
It's okay. Head. You can show off with your knowledge of good actors.
I'm not trying to show off.
And your ability to see an image of someone and come up with a perfect visual.
That's what it is, though.
Last time you're on the show, I mean.
Last time we do this segment, how about that? Remember how I threw this segment in literally at the last second, and everyone said, "Yeah, sure, I guess we could do it." And then Janessa came in with a fucking baseball bat and said, "I'm gonna hit this one out of the park. I'm gonna hit that one out of the park. You guys want me to hit a third home run? Yeah, let me just. I'm gonna hit a home run off a bunt. I'm not even gonna try. Look, woo!
Like all the time spent watching movies has paid off.
Yeah, the biggest.
Yeah. God damn, Tom Hardy and Jodie together on screen would be so good for this for the movie.
Yeah,
like real talk.
Yeah,
like the two of them together would be fantastic in those roles. It's genuinely really solid casting that you've come up with. Like I can't even pretend.
I should be a casting director.
You should, if you like. When it comes to translating the idea of a character from the comic book, like this and Jodie is so good. And now, if I can find one of the Will, like I don't even know if the Will's in this issue because he's like. Yeah, I don't even know if he's.
Are we going to cast the big bald monster?
No, please no. But I do have So for Lion Cats,
okay,
I was gonna say classic voice guy, Andy Serkis.
He was
like Alfred in the Batman.
Yeah, and he was Gollum.
Gollum, yes.
Yeah.
And he was the
Batman. Oh.
Yeah. And he was also the ape in what's that? Planet of the Apes, like the later ones, the one like the remake ones with Wahlberg.
My casting, although a bit older, and I don't even know if he necessarily acts anymore. Mind you, it would be voice acting, so it wouldn't be a big thing.
Yeah.
And I don't know why. I don't necessarily have, other than the fact that I know he's good at manipulating his voice and doing zany things and whatnot, and he also has a very dark comedy side to him as well. Is Jim Carrey.
Oh, as the voice of Lion Cat.
Yeah.
That is so interesting.
He's a great voice actor.
I did not. So this is the Will, and this is Tom Hardy. And this is exactly who she cast. She's right. Yeah. Oh man, Jim Carrey as Lion Cat is interesting. I'm not mad at that. That's a good one.
I feel like I'm half and half with that one.
With Carrey?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, go ahead. Who what's your third?
Who are you gonna? What ballpark are you gonna knock this one into?
This one I had a hard time too. I couldn't figure out.
You do realize you said you had a hard time every time.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
no, okay, but Tom
I had a hard time.
That one I came with on the spot, Tom Hardy. I did not.
Okay, that's fair.
But for the Lion Cat, I don't know why the voice that came to my mind was Stewie from Family Guy.
That's McFarlane?
That's McFarlane.
Liar. Why are you lying on
For some reason, I just pictured Stewie saying it. I don't know why.
Lying. Oh my god, that's interesting. Okay, I don't know if you hit that one out of the park.
Because I feel like the Lion Cat is kind of like comic relief a bit, comedic relief. I mean, in the book.
I mean, the scene where she says to him, "How have you never murdered this thing?" He's like, "I've tried." Is pretty comedic.
Yeah, and
I don't know. I just feel like he kind of breaks the seriousness sometimes in certain scenes. So just hearing Stewie like. Can I read it?
Oh God, I feel like a Stewie voice would pull me out a little bit, but that's
probably.
I'm not mad.
Maybe not Stewie's voice specifically, but
yeah,
that actor.
Yeah, because he is very good with voices. That's fair. That's
yeah.
Fair. All right.
If you go to issue, hold on. If you go to issue, I think it's issue 11. Which one's the one that they get sucked back? Yeah, issue 11, where they get sucked back into the
into space.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's issue 11 because
there's a scene there where he's talking about Lion Cat, and he's like, he's talking to Gwendolyn and says, Gwendolyn, if you mess up again, like, I'm gonna make sure that Lion Cat, like, you're gonna feed you to Lion Cat. It cuts to a scene where Lion Cat is like licking his paws, and he's like you obviously, like, the cat looks like he wants to eat her type thing. That face looks very Jim Carrey like. If you were to think about how he used to do the Grinch,
right? Janessa, remember how I told you he likes to come back even though things are done?
You have to go about references. I wanted to make this reference, and I just realized it now.
This is that moment. This is that moment where we've started talking, and he's just like, I need to make my point.
But I mean, it's okay. I get it.
I know, I'm teasing I'm teasing
the background behind it. I kind of get that, actually.
Because... See, look, I just want to remind everybody, after all this happens, they get sucked into the vacuum of space, by the way. Like, we didn't tell you guys much of the story because we actually do want you to read the story for yourself. So we tried not to give you too many details. If you've read the comic or the graphic novel, I should say, and you want to just listen to other people talk about it, that's the point of this. If you haven't read it, one of the reasons we go a little more vague now is because we don't want to give you too much detail, but we'd like to show you some of the panels so you can see stuff. But I just want to make the point that the Will, after this poor child has been sucked into space, instead of being the one to hold her, because, you know, he did everything in his power to make sure this poor slave girl would be freed. Well, she dead. That's his reaction. Good job, buddy. Good job.
That's
dedicated to the cause. That's true. He's an asshole.
Paid assassin, Brian.
Yeah. Tom Hardy. You're right. Okay.
They're not good people, Brian. Yeah. They're not people you bring home to mother.
All right, guys. Last segment of the show. You know what we do. We give you our last thoughts and we rate the title out of 5. So okay. we're gonna. So last thoughts. Ness, you want to go first? Last thoughts on volume 2 of Saga.
Last thoughts. I mean, it was a great read. It wasn't as action packed as earlier. Yeah. As the first volume. But still a lot of information that we learned about, a lot of character development and new characters being introduced. So that's always fun. Yeah. And if I were to rate it on 5, I'm going to give it a 4 on 5. Just because I feel like there was a lot of information, but there wasn't much that happened in general. I think I was looking a bit more for some action. Yeah. But still a great read and a lot of, new insight.
All right. 4 and 5, I'm down. I would say I also really liked it. I think, having read further, like beyond, this is, as we usually say, a lot of table setting, but I like the table. The table looks great, and I'm looking forward to the meal. Like, you really did put a lot into developing character backstories, character motivations. I mean, we didn't talk about it a lot, but you get a lot of flashbacks of Alana and her decision and the reason behind why a prisoner of hers became her lover and the father of her child. And some of that stuff is really interesting, but some of that stuff is like questioning, like, is she stable? Like, but I like that. I like that they set that up now so that when for those of you who are going to continue reading, there's some stuff where we end up being on a soap opera. It gets weird, and you start to be like, what's happening? So I like that they kind of set up that Hazel's parents were not the most stable people, and like Dave said, both definitely dealing with PTSD. They're not okay. So it's kind of fun, and I think I'm like 3.5, 3.75 on 5. Like 3.95 on 5. Like it's touching 4. Like it's so close because Kayvon actually, first of all, the art is fantastic through and through. The whole thing, the art is always fantastic. So that's something that I'm really excited for. And I would say anyone who loves it, you'll appreciate the art, but then also the fact that like the writing is that good. Like this is like I was saying to Ness before, it's almost unfortunate that this is your first one, because I don't think Kayvon writes better than this ever, in my opinion.
And for me, I mean, one thing I'll say, one thing I loved about is the seamlessness from like the storytelling, from like you're not skipping a beat in the sense of like you're keeping the ship going forward, but this issue is not Empire Strikes Back compared to Star Wars type thing. It's like it is like, I think Janessa said it best. It's like it has this a little less action, but the thing, as Brian said as well, is like there's a lot of table setting, and the last issue definitely makes you want to, it hooks you back type thing. The last issue, because in the last issue you're getting back with Robot Prince 4, and they're in a precarious situation because they're about to be found out type thing. I would give it a solid, I think I also give a 4. It lost 0.5 because of action, and lost another 0.5 because the balls were too big. that two bigger balls for their britches, and they lose 0.5 for that.
Y'all and these balls. All right, so that's the first comeback back like we never left, like we said, for That's Canon. I hope you guys really enjoyed this. Is there anything you guys want to tell people? Ness, all your socials, where can people check out your stuff? You spoke about watching a bunch of movies. Where can we see some reviews of those movies?
Whoa, it's Ness. You can see it right there. That's my IG handle. That's my letterbox. And yeah, follow me on there. I follow back.
There you go.
I would just say, make sure to, on top of tuning in for, seeing the old ones of these and the new ones, also check us out on GeekCypha. Get other extra nerd news there.
Yeah. And then I know Dave's not talking about it right now, but squared-idea.com. I feel like, that was one of that's always been a staple of when we've done That's Canon, because you're working on your own comic that you're not.
I'm just bashful.
What?
Bashful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. He's written one, and the first issue's out, and it's really fun. And
we have issues 1 through or 2 through 7 written. We had a bit of difficulty, COVID, with
looking for an artist,
but we're gonna get that. We're gonna get through that.
But we got to let the people know. If you're watching this later on, it might be out. If it's not out yet, go to the website, squared-ideas.com. That's going to be in the description also. What are all the things I said we're going to put in the description? We're going to put in the link to Ness's stuff. We're going to put Squared Idea, and then
what's poll.
The link to the original, volume 1.
The volume 1 review, and a poll to decide who had the best casting, me, Dave, or the Ness, who we already know, but whatever. I'll just put it there anyways.
I got Lion Cat though, right?
Yeah.
Maybe.
Maybe.
That's still the reaching. That's still
possibly. I don't know about that. I'm not gonna lie. All right, guys, we had a fun one. Thank you so much for tuning in. We'll be back soon.
All right, peace.